Thank you very much, Mr. Stoltenberg, for having visited our parliament. I would like to address you and the ambassadors of NATO. Even though we have cooperation documents signed, documents in place, irrespective of agreements that we have with Russia, in 2014, Russia unleashed an open military aggression against us. And it's only due to the mass heroism of our military, the National Guard, volunteers, border guard servicemen, we did manage to stop this aggression in the east of Ukraine, paying the price by thousands of lives of our servicemen. Only that stopped the aggressor in his tracks. We keep suffering from this aggression. We are very thankful for the support that we get from NATO, political, and technical and otherwise. But I'd like to address you with the following question. Don't you think, Mr. Secretary General, that the agreement of partnership and cooperation which we have with NATO should be upgraded? Basically, all NATO member countries have blocked opportunities for Ukraine to get necessary military equipment and spare parts. And now the industrial complex is not strong enough to bridge this gap. Please pay attention to that. Thank you. We give the floor to Head of the Committee of Parliament for Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Hanna
Dear
Hopko.
Secretary General, dear members of North Atlantic Council, dear members of Parliament and Ukrainian citizens, it's a big honor to have you here today. First of all, let me thank you for all your personal efforts and all practical support from NATO to Ukraine. This is crucially important to see the consolidated position of NATO members countries to Ukraine. Today in the morning, during the exhibition in the Arsenal, I stopped by one poster which from Bucharest Summit 2008, when NATO welcomes Ukraine's and Georgia Euro-Atlantic aspiration for membership in NATO. And also, we agreed today that these countries will become members of NATO. Today, we make clear that Ukraine and Georgia on their direct way to membership. I do hope that after almost 9 years that passed from Bucharest summit, when in your Bucharest declaration it was clearly written that Ukraine will become a member of NATO. Today, Ukrainian soldiers are protecting also NATO and NATO members from Russian aggression. So actually, my very straight questions. Ukraine also seeks or strives for more ambitious partnership. And I hope that this visit, this is a start of a real dialogue about the membership action plan. And also this is the first step for our membership. I think that Russian aggression against Ukraine is not a limited factor for joining for Ukraine to NATO. I think this is extra benefits that Ukrainian army within this 3.5 years of war by everyday practice and countering Russian aggression. So my question is very direct. When you will consider the membership action plan? And I think that Russian aggression is not the limited factor. And actually this is really important for our society because there is a strongest support of this. Thank you.
Дякую. І останнє слово для запитання.
Thank you. Deputy Head of the Parliamentary Committee for European Integration, Maria Ionova. Ms. Ionova,
Dear Secretary
please.
General, dear members of the North Atlantic Council, first of all, I would like to thank you for supporting Ukraine in this difficult time, for the awareness of tasks and mission of our country on the borders of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and respectively for understanding the need for effective cooperation between Ukraine and NATO member in the coming years. And of course, we highly appreciate you name a problem as it is. And your public position is really very strong and principled, and we take it as a position of the North Atlantic Council. We are aware that not all member states are unanimous regarding the vision of the NATO's support for Ukraine, as well as regarding the membership perspective. But at the same time, the world is witnessing feats and victories of our nation and its soldiers in the name of common values and principles for all of us. And that is why my questions are, today President of Ukraine made a statement with regard to NATO membership action plan in 2020. Given the plan is not a ticket for membership, shouldn't membership action plan be guaranteed for Ukraine earlier? And my second question is how NATO can help us to fight for liberation of hostages, appealing to Russia Federation, because there are 132 hostages in control by Russian's territory, Donbass, 10 political hostages in Russian Federation, and 30 Crimea Tatars also. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the comments and the questions, and let me briefly respond to them. First, to the first question from Mr. Basinski, I would like to say that I will pay, and NATO pays great tribute to all those Ukrainian soldiers who have served, and many have paid the ultimate price in Donbass, fighting the aggression against Ukraine. And that's also the reason why we continue to provide direct support for you, not least in helping you to modernize and strengthen your armed forces, partly by modernizing your defense and security institutions, but also with 10 trust funds which have allocated around 40 million euros for different activities on logistics, on command and control, on medical rehabilitation, and also on cyber defenses. On top of what NATO provides in direct support through the trust funds and through the different programs, of course we also encourage NATO allies to provide support on the bilateral level. So the total support from NATO is partly what NATO as an alliance provides, but also very much what NATO allies provide within bilateral arrangements and bilateral support programs. All of this makes a big difference, and all of this has helped you to modernize and improve the quality of your forces. And I think there is a very strong link between modernizing the armed forces as such, but at the same time highlighting the importance of implementing reforms of your defense and security institutions, including civilian democratic control over the armed forces. This is, for NATO, two sides of the same coin. Then you asked me about weapons. Well, NATO as an alliance does not possess weapons or equipment. So this is not for NATO as an alliance. But of course, NATO allies have equipment and different weapons. I know that there are talks going on between Ukraine and some NATO allies on this issue, and also discussed it with the President earlier today, the question of weapons based on the bilateral consultations and talks which are going on. Then, Madam Hapko, you asked me, first of all, you referred to the exhibition, and I think the exhibition we inaugurated this morning illustrates that and demonstrates that our partnership has lasted actually for more than 20 years. We are celebrating the distinctive partnership, the 20 years of distinctive partnership today, but actually we had the partnership also before that, and NATO has been there, and especially after 2014 we have significantly stepped up our support, both politically and our practical support. I think actually both the question from you and also from the last speaker, Madam Ionova, was related to membership and the membership issue and the question of map. So I will answer that together. For NATO, it is an absolute and fundamental principle that every nation has the right to choose its own path, including whether it wants to be a member of a security arrangement, an alliance or not. We respect the decision when they decide to be neutral countries or when they decide to try to strive for membership in an alliance, and of course also if a nation decides to strive for membership in NATO. Then it is a decision by 29 allies and the applicant country whether there is going to be membership or not. An important message today from me is that no one else, no other country, no one outside the 28 allies and the applicant country, the country which is striving for membership, has the right to decide on that. What we have seen with Montenegro is that NATO's door is open. We pursue an open door policy. At the same time, what I think that Montenegro has taught us is that it requires a lot of reform, it requires a lot of effort, and it requires that NATO standards are met. So I think that the decision of Ukraine now to focus on reforms, to focus on strengthening your security institutions, to fight corruption, to modernize, that is exactly the right focus. And especially because you are also focusing how can you meet NATO standards, how can you increase interoperability, because all of that is important and good for NATO, good for Ukraine, regardless of membership. Because the more you modernize, the more you succeed in the fight against corruption, the more you are able to meet NATO standards, the more you are able to be interoperable, meaning work together with NATO soldiers, the better it is for Ukraine, even outside NATO, and the better it is for NATO, regardless of whether Ukraine becomes a member of NATO or not later on. But at the same time, it makes you move closer to NATO. And therefore, my message is that be focused on reform, be focused on meeting NATO standards, be focused on the fight against corruption. That's the best thing you can do, and that's the best thing you can also do to move closer to the NATO alliance. You have the tools, and we have the tools, with the annual national program, with the comprehensive package, to further strengthen our cooperation and to do more together. So we have the frameworks, we have the tools. I think our common challenge is to fill the tools, the comprehensive package, the annual national program, with as much content and as much activities as possible. That's for NATO, but it's also very much up to you and all NATO allies to provide the necessary resources and the contributions to the comprehensive package and our cooperation programs. So once again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for letting me speak to the Rada, and I really appreciate the very close and good cooperation we have between NATO and Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stoltenberg, for taking the questions from MPs. I would like to reassure you that the Ukrainian Parliament is very committed to reform and to our NATO membership bid. I would like to announce that our meeting will continue in a closed format. That's why I invite heads of the committees and parliamentary factions to the conference hall for a joint meeting with the Secretary General and members of the North Atlantic Council. And the meeting of MPs with the Secretary General in the plenary hall is adjourned. Thank you.